Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Monday Four Lads showcase. My name is Stevie Clifford, joined by Kenny Stewart. It's just the duo this evening. Kenny, nice to speak to you. I wish it was better circumstances, but we have got a lot to discuss this evening. It is one of those ones, isn't it?
It is, mate. Disappointing. Not too disappointed with the performance, but gutted at the result. And yeah, we've got plenty to chat about, haven't we? There's a few goals and drama to dissect here.
Yeah, there is absolutely plenty. Before we start, a thank you to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, and our partners, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. With Rhino Express, special thanks to Jim, who sorted Shona and Cheryl's tickets for the weekend. We much appreciate that, Jim, and the continued support of all the guys over in our sponsorship. So, now that that's we've done the intros, Kenny, let's get our overall thoughts on the game yesterday. Before we go too much into the key decisions, we're obviously going to need to discuss the goals scored, refereeing, goals conceded, etc. There's lots of pluses, there's some negatives also, but give me your kind of quick overall synopsis on Rangers' performance yesterday, which after a remarkable performance against Tottenham on Thursday night and remarkable effort, I thought that, to come and do that yesterday was quite something. But I want to get your take on it.
Well, I thought the first half, I thought we were the better side by far. I thought the manager got his tactics spot on. I thought he got his press perfect. Something that I had mentioned on Friday was dealing with those inverted fullbacks and Callum McGregor, and I certainly think first half in particular he did that. He you see the first goal and we actually get that from actually pressing right in there. I thought we were the better side over the 90 minutes. Wee bit unfortunate not to win it in 90, I thought. I thought we were hanging on. I thought we looked dead on our feet the last 15 minutes extra time, and penalties are a lottery, mate. We know that. It's not falling for us, but as I say, I can honestly say that I thought there's been massive improvement in terms of games against Celtic there. I thought, the last Scottish Cup final we were pretty unlucky. I thought we've been even more unlucky yesterday. My only major concern would be that that's twice this year we've scored 3 goals against them, and twice we haven't actually managed to beat them, mate. So, there is one of these things that we're going to have to kind of deal with going forward. The manager's going to have to deal with going forward is actually managing to keep them out. Now they've got top players. We know that they've got good players and they've got pace. But over the piece, strange as this may sound, nobody ever wants to lose this game, but I'm not too disheartened. I can see the shoots of growth. I can see the promise in this team. I think, if I'm being brutally honest about it, mate, that the difference between the two sides yesterday was what they brought off the bench and what we were managing to bring off the bench. But out with that, I thought we more than matched them, mate, and I thought we were pretty unlucky on the day.
Yeah, I would echo that. Listen, I think that when you consider that just a few short weeks ago, after what was a really dreadful performance against Dundee United on the back of going 11 points behind, 9 points behind third, and, on the back of defeats at Aberdeen and Kilmarnock and things like that, I think it was fair to say, where are we going? And this has not just been a knee-jerk reaction. For a number of months into last season, these performances haven't been good enough. So I think the questions have been relevant. And I think that if we had seen a more consistent performance base from the start of the season, and I realise it would have been sporadic, we're rebuilding and things like that, and we have given him context, and we will continue to give context that the job he's been asked to do. is extremely difficult. You know, we are downsizing. We have cut the wage bill. We have sold big players. We have implemented a new strategy for signing younger players. That's all context, which is totally fair. But at the end of the day, the football on the pitch has been really tedious and turgid to watch up until 5 games ago. This Tottenham Celtic game, we had all written it off, though, that double as being 2 what could be really painful results. It turns out that we went toe-to-toe with both and went head-to-head with both. Now, losing and drawing is never something to be celebrated, and we will not want to come across that way. I think you're right in terms of Celtic squad and their depth and quality throughout. I think that's fair, but they have had years to build this position, and they have done it really well. So there's no complaints about that from me. And I think our players, I don't want to applaud their performance because you'll be accused of happy clapping, Kenny, but we questioned their heart, we questioned their desire, and we questioned their attitude towards what we were trying to do. And I think in the last 5 games, they've answered that in abundance.
Yeah, they have, mate. And it coincides with a little tweak in the formation that certainly I've been calling for all season. I think creating chances has been an issue up until that, up until that Dundee United game. And it probably was a little bit of a watershed. And I don't know if perhaps the managers talked to some of the players or some of the senior players and actually said, look, what is it that you feel that's on that pitch that isn't going right or whatever? I have no idea if that's happened. But I do get the feeling, and you could tell me what you feel here, but I do get that feeling that the players look far happier in the shape that they're playing in. They're just more expression about it. They're kind of playing with a little bit more freedom, perhaps. I don't know, but it's been a strange week because I was really proud of them after the Spurs game, and I'm not overly disheartened. And as you say, nobody wants to come across as a happy clapper here. We're gutted. We've lost that cup final yesterday. But I think we're a little bit unfortunate. In fact, I don't think we're a little bit unfortunate. I think we're a big bit unfortunate, and we'll come on to that, as you know. But look, it's one of those situations now that it's what we do from here, Stevie. Where do we keep progressing here? Does this, result this defeat, if you like? And I don't feel it is a defeat because in penalties I don't feel it is, but at the end of the day they've won the cup and we haven't because of those penalty kicks. But it's about progressing from here because there's there's loads that you can improve on from yesterday's performance, that although it's better, it's still not anywhere near perfect, and we need to get better. And as I say, for me, decision making all over the pitch at times is still not quite there. But they are quite a young team, and that might well be something that needs pile drived into them, But there has definitely been a massive improvement, Stevie, since you went on holiday, and so we'll see where it goes. But to be honest, mate, I'm just disappointed we haven't won yesterday, but trying to take all the positives that I can out of it. I've got to be fair.
Yeah, and I think that's right to do so. I think if we came on and they had been a letdown like at Parkhead, then we would have every right to complain. And yeah, look, we will nitpick the absolute ins and outs of this game in the next 20 minutes or so. But Kenny dominating, basically since the full-time whistle yesterday, was not one but 2 major decisions which cost Rangers. The first one is the penalty. We've all seen the pictures from Czerny, etc. First of all, John Beaton gets the decision right. There's a clear pull. It's marginal. Can absolutely see where Czerny falls, etc., that he thinks it's there. The assistant is looking right across at it. Right on across at it. VAR, apparently, according to Rory Hamilton on on the coverage said VAR have checked it and deemed it okay. Subsequent pictures and footage of that, there's no way that VAR can check that. That's the first instance that we're going to discuss, Kenny, and I would like to make it clear that this is not a always cheated kind of thing. I don't feel like that, but it's clear to me that campaigns of penalty to Rangers, etc., have had the desired effect, and this football club has to question. And I believe that it's Patrick Stewart today, as CEO, one of the first things he done was spoke to SFA and asked for clarification of why we were not given a penalty yesterday. So that's a good sign, and it's quietly done. We're not shouting. There's no statements. It's quietly done and handled. I'll get to Patrick Stewart in a wee bit because I'm hopeful that he will. In fact, it might even be a topic of conversation for us on Wednesday, Kenny, in terms of our own show. But I'm hopeful that a new kind of professional attitude towards it, because let's be honest, in January, after that handball and everything, we didn't handle it well. We basically come out and said they were cheating, and John and we didn't want Colm to referee our game. We lost the higher ground. This time we have the higher ground, and it's about doing it properly. So I'm hopeful Patrick Stewart will do that. But Kenny, it's so difficult because it was a stonewall decision, and I have to question the competence levels of those in that VAR room. Have they really checked that properly? We know who it is. There's previous there with both of them. And I think we've got every reason to be completely aggrieved about that. There's nothing to guarantee that James Tavernier scores it, but James Tavernier rarely misses and converted his spot kick in the penalties very well. And I think we've got a decent chance there, which we've been robbed at by sheer incompetence.
Yeah. Look, it's a stonewall penalty kick, Stevie. There is no dubiety about it at all. It's a stonewall penalty kick, which leads you to suggest, leads you to think that did they check it? Because if they've checked it, it's a penalty kick. It's not even debatable when you actually look at it. So in that sense, mate, your competency is one thing, right? And we're not going to go down a path here, but the simple fact is that it was one of those games that was kind of end to end. It was a game of basketball to a certain degree, and there's no guarantee, as you say, that James Tavernier is going to score the penalty, but I'd fancy him to do so. And there's no guarantee that they won't equalise and it still goes to penalty kicks and all this. We understand all this, but the simple fact is, and it seems to be, it's actually becoming tedious and more of a concern for me now than at any point, that any game that's tight against them, there's a contentious decision that is simply not going our way. Now, I've actually made a point today of kind of looking back on a number of them, and every single one of them. Now, I've got blue tinted specs on. I understand that, but every single one of them has been, for over 2 years, Stevie, when there's a 50-50 or a contentious or a difficult decision to make, it's not going Rangers' way. And that comes down to that campaign that you're talking about, and, Celtic at AGMs are perhaps, bringing up referees, and year in, year out, there's a distinct campaign to crank up the pressure on officials. But the simple fact is, the simple fact is that the VAR official has one job here, Stevie, one job to do, and he didn't do it. So you therefore look at it and say, well, what's the point in having it if you can't get such a simple decision correct? Because anybody with 8 monitors sitting in front of him, Stevie, is going to see that is clearly a penalty kick. Liam Scales is well inside his own box. Cherny is on that line. It's a penalty kick. Now, the other one I actually think is every bit as cut and dried. It's as clear as the nose in your face. It's a foul. It's the one we're going to talk about. But the situation here is very difficult to talk about because you don't want to go down the path that we're trying to avoid going down here, mate. Right, and that's what I'm trying to say. But it's becoming it's been a concern for a long time. It's now becoming tedious to the point where what I would say to you is that last year we had a decision in a game against Celtic that ultimately, a couple of weeks later, cost a manager his job. Philip Clement had 2 contentious decisions in cup finals now, and he's under pressure as it is. These decisions by these officials are life-impacting decisions, Stevie, and whether people like it or not, this needs dealt with. How you go about dealing with it, as a football club is a difficult one, and we'll try and discuss it because we're going to talk about Patrick Stewart, as you say. But I'm at a loss for words on that yesterday. That's the best way I could say it. So I've probably mumbled along for a couple of minutes here, trying to avoid saying what I want to say. But you know what it is here.
Yeah, we don't. I think it's clear that everybody knows what we're referencing here, but we don't want to go across as being a podcast that says it and ends up, it's all a conspiracy, etc. So I think that we'll move on from that decision, and unfortunately, again, we go to another one, and Celtic star goal. A mistake by Rangers on the left-hand side. Raskin and Ridvan guilty of jumping in to try and win the ball, and it breaks in. Kuhn takes it on really well. He plays it out wide, and like it or not, he trips Diamande. And in tripping Diamande can't cover that space, which he would have covered if the ball had cut back, and Nicholas Kuhn is able to convert. Now, let's rewind to a penalty decision at Celtic Park on O'Reilly from, I think it was even Diamande himself. And the contact is minimal. I mean, minimal contact. He more or less, I think, trips himself. Goes to VAR. VAR upholds it. Or Column upholds it after going to VAR. And a penalty is awarded. Rewind further to the game at Ibrox, which ended 3 each. VAR goes back 20 seconds to find a foul by Tom Lawrence, in which Tom Lawrence got contact with a ball as well, and goes way back to find a foul. Kenny, the manager remonstrated at the time. I was sitting in the press area, so I'm watching the manager's reaction, and he's calling it. Diamande's calling it. And it very quickly, no foul, play on. Again, competency, integrity. What are they seeing that we're not? Because it's a clear penalty and it's a clear foul. And it's cost Rangers a chance to go ahead, and it's certainly cost them a goal against.
Yep. This one is more subjective, right? That's what we'll say. To me, it's more subjective. Where the very least you would expect VAR to do here is play that back, because you've got a manager and a player, both literally. That's a foul. So I would expect VAR to look at that, run it back, and say there's a potential foul here. Come and have a look at it, John. That's what you would expect to happen, and then it's up to the referee whether he deems it a foul or not, or if it's just accidental, or there is that's fair. It's this issue that we have with VAR, yesterday in particular, that you've got one job to do. It's look at the situation that, has led to a goal. Now, as you say, if you can go back 15, 20 seconds a few months ago in a game of this magnitude and find something to make a referee go and have a look at, why are they not having a look at that? This is what I'm trying to say. It's almost as if there's nothing really worth looking at. This is a cup final. It's, at that point with this one, it's 2 each. There's 3 minutes to go. and a goal comes from it, it's contentious, and they don't even ask a referee to have a look at it. I don't know if VAR have looked at it and went, no, it's fine, or they've not looked at it at all. And it's the same with the penalty.
Surely then it's a competency issue.
They're not fit for purpose, mate. I don't believe in conspiracies, right? I'm not really going down that way. I just think they're awful. I just think the referees are genuinely awful. But the concern I have here, mate, is that this isn't even the referee. This is the video assistant referee who's got monitors everywhere to look at these things, and he's not seen it. Now I've watched it back. You can see it as plain as the nose in your face on a telly. So why are they not seeing it, Stevie? That's what I don't understand. But the issue I have with this one, as I say, is that I think it is more subjective. That I think the referee should be called to the monitor, and then it's up to him to decide whether he feels he's made a mistake or not. I think it is. I think there is a foul there, purely on the basis that the guy that's actually man marking him and the guy that's going to be in the space to try and block that shot has been tripped by the guy that scores. So, you know, what else can you say about this? I don't know. I'm actually at the point, I don't really know what else to say about these things because, as I say, you're feeling hard done by. I understand that. And, you know, we all understand that, you know, what you meant to say to this now, you know, on a podcast, what you want to do is shout and ball and rant and rave, but it's the most futile thing. It's up to the club to kind of deal with this, mate. And it's all right, you know, people saying, you know, go after referees, but us going after referees isn't going to make a blind bit of difference, is it?
No, and it's not. And I don't actually believe we should be going after anybody, but it's, you know, it's decisions against our football club that we've spent 10 minutes discussing after a major cup final. So I think we're entitled to ask the questions and discuss it. I think there's definitely a competency level regarding those that are sitting in the bar room, and I'll continue to say that. Let's move on. Really plus points yesterday. First goal, really good. Liked the shape of Rangers yesterday. Just like I did on Thursday, it's almost like it's clicked, which is a really important thing. Individually, I think players have started to perform. I thought Robin Proper yesterday, and yeah, he doesn't have pace. Davy Weir didn't have pace either. I thought Robin Proper was excellent yesterday, particularly his block on Kyogo that unfortunately led to the corner that they then equalised. And I thought that Raskin and Diamande continued to do well. Raskin at fault for the second, yeah, absolutely. But individually, there was other, you know, Hamza Gamani as a forward. The Gaman, he played well. Yanis Hadji, I thought, grew into the game and had a terrific game. I thought he worked his socks off. I thought Bayrami done the exact same. Now, it was interesting. Bayrami was on McGregor, and I thought he did it really well, closing down the space and stuff like that. And I've seen people say that he didn't really affect the game enough, but when he got the opportunity, he did. He had one drive and run in the first half. But here's the point, Kenny. So the goals that we scored, the first one, and we done this very well yesterday. We let the centre backs have the ball, and when the wing backs came in, like Taylor did, we triggered. That was the trigger to press, and it was very clever. So all respect to Philip Clement yesterday, shape, etc. So that was a good moment. We scored that goal, and then the second at a point where we've thrown it away, and we'll come to this in a minute, and we're 2-1 down. The second to battle back, Diamande, good finish. Now, what I liked about it is it was a wee bit of mix-up from the corner. They took a short one. Now, Tav and I think Cherny, Hadji, the delivery wasn't good yesterday, and Hadji started, and so did Eagleman, wanting to mix it up. So they finally got it short. Eagleman goes out, and he clips it in. Diamande spins, and there's a bit of up there, and we get the finish. But that came just a minute or two after Diamande had a terrific shot, which Kasper Schmeichel tipped away really brilliantly. And then the third one was brilliant. Cherny didn't have a great game yesterday, but produces that moment. The cross was sublime. The movement from Danilo, I would ask everybody to go and watch it. He feints in, he feints out, he gets in between them, he knows exactly where he's got to be, and the header was terrific. It actually reminded me of Chris Boyd's header against Queen of the South in the Scottish Cup, a way back in Walter's time. the year that we got to Manchester in a 3-2 win. Terrific set of balls by Rangers to come back twice. Equally negative, they threw it away to go 2-1 down. But Kenny, 3 good goals scored, positives for the side that we were able to hurt them. I said we would get opportunities, we did. And the press and the setup was good. So positively for Rangers, we'll come to negatives in a minute. But positively, I think that was really good. And we've scored 3 really good goals, particularly the header from Danilo. And I think that is, I don't want to overly go on about it, but we can be positive about those goals, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And on the first goal, that kind of had been coming because we had done that 3 or 4 times and managed to just set that trap. We were setting traps all afternoon, and Celtic were playing into the trap, and we were away. As soon as we got it, we were away, and 2 or 3 times we had, almost had an opportunity and didn't quite make that breakthrough. But the first goal, actually, Eagleman does very, very well because he delays the strike just that wee quarter second so that he can get more angle to it, which has got the keeper, Schmeichel at full stretch, and Bayrami keeps on running. And it's a great goal, actually, in terms of, as I say, setting a trap and getting rewarded for it was brilliant. The second goal...
Incidentally, Kenny, when I tell you about Danilo and Chris Boyd, that first goal for Rangers was just like Purcell's tap in for Namucci's shot at Ibrox. Exact same. It reminded me of that one as well.
Yeah. The second goal, it's a decent ball in from Eagleman, isn't it? And great strength from Mo Diamande. Holds, I think, is it Carter Vickers? I think he's holding off. Could be wrong. But he holds him off really well. Great strength. I thought Mo Diamande was our best player in the park yesterday. I thought he was sensational again. I thought he was brilliant on Thursday night. But our best player yesterday, I thought, very, very decent. And that's your midfield going forward for me, him and Raskin, I would think. And the third goal, I agree with you. It's the movement that makes the goal. It's a great wee cross in. Cherny gets himself half a yard and whips the ball in. But it's the timing of the run, and as you say, peeling off and coming inside and getting between the two of them is fantastic. And I agree with you that kind of movement that Danilo has been showing us in flashes since he come back is the type of movement we've been missing for quite a while, mate. And no disrespect to any other striker up there, but that's different gravy. That actually, if you can get Danilo fully up to match fitness, he'll score plenty of goals because he has that ability to peel off defenders or get in front of them and be brave. We've seen that up at St Johnstone last year when he scored his goal and get a fractured face for it, But he's a brave wee guy, and fair play to him. And he enjoyed it, didn't he? He loved it. So. Look, that we could have scored more yesterday. That's the only concern I would say. That if
let's move on to that then.
Yeah,
let's move on to it because it's a perfect chance. I'm going to bring up 2 graphics that nobody will want to see, but we have to discuss them, Kenny. This is the ultimate moment. That to me is absolutely criminal. The ball choice from Eagleman is wrong. Bayrami's then one choice is to try and clip that over. We've made a right pig's ear of that. Also, the next kind of screen we're going to bring up and we're going to have a look at is this one. This is the first half. Now, we've just scored. This is Leon Balogun. There's one pass there. And this goes on to something I believe is absolutely correct. Our decision-making in the key moments, our decision-making in the final third especially, is far too erratic. It's far too sporadic. We're shooting randomly. We don't make those decisive passes. It looks almost like we second-guess ourselves. That's 2 moments, Kenny. And there's more. There was more times where Cherny dallied on the ball and he got caught. There was one where he tried to back heel again. He done that on Thursday night. And it's just like, boys, be decisive. I do not mind if you send one into the channel for Hamza Egaman to go and chase. Tav done it again yesterday with his pass and played us into trouble at a moment where I can understand they're trying to play football, but be smarter. And I don't think we've got that in our team. We do not have somebody ruthless up there. I would love to think if that was Bainami, he plays that pass. That one from Leon Balogun, I get he's a centre half, but that's a pass. It's a 5-10 yard pass. 15 if you want to play it in front of him. The 4-on-1 is inexplicable. At that point, if you convert that, you potentially go 2-0 up. And we didn't even get we don't even get a shot away. It's now there's two key moments, Kenny. We'll get that off our screens because even our faces are more pleasant than watching that. But that's two gilt-edge moments that Rangers have made a mess of.
Yeah, the first one is the 4-on-1. Put it that way is it's just criminal not to score from there. And I totally agree that all he has to do is play to either of the two players on the left, and the minute he does that, Carter Vickers has got to come across. And the minute Carter Vickers comes across, you can just square it back across. And you're now 3-on-0. You've got three of them on the keeper. So it's just the wrong choice of a pass. And the pass actually isn't great. It's not a good ball either. So it kind of pulls Bayrami out from where he wants to be. Bayrami could have, if it's a good pass, Bayrami could just get a strike. But he actually makes him go further out wide. That'll haunt me because, I couldn't believe it. Put it that way. I thought, well, you're laughing. You're 1-0 up there. I think if we go 2 up, well, I'm not saying the game's done, but you've certainly got plenty to hold on to. And with fatigue setting in because we had played, a couple of days, or we had a couple of days less rest than Celtic, put it that way, you could have managed your game a lot better, if you've got a 2-goal lead instead of a 1-goal lead. And the one with Balogun, I was actually screaming, just give him it. And I totally agree with you. Just play that 5 yards, 6 yards in front of Egerman, because whoever their defender is going that way anyway, and he's never getting back. He's away that way because he's got to cover Balogun running there. So just play it and, play it in behind the defender, and Egerman's, and the form that Egerman's on, you would fancy him 1-on-1 to finish that. But there was more of them as well, Stevie. It's just, as you say, that final decision. But we're a work in progress, that's what I'll say. And, I'm not saying we're seeing less of it, but I think we're beginning to see that there is an understanding amongst the front four at the minute that's getting there, put it that way. But gutted at both of them, particularly the 4-on-1 at the start of the second half. I think that's about 5-10 minutes into the second half, something like that, maybe 10 minutes in or something like that, the second half. And I do feel that goes in, we win that game. I do.
My biggest frustration about those two screens that we showed was that the person carrying the ball, ideally Yanis Hadji, would make the right pass and convert that. I think Yanis Hadji's in those situations, passing wise and stuff, or Bayrami, you would hope that either or two of them. But as you said, the pass from Egerman's wrong, and it's not hard enough, and it slows the whole momentum. And the one from Balogun, and I get Balogun as a centre half. I'm not 2-footing Balogun, who I thought was, again, the last couple of games, really very good, and he always is. The negatives are the goals conceded. Look, the first one, we don't clear our lines from the corner kick. We don't get out quick enough. It hits off Raskin stroke Robin Proper and goes in. The second one is a Raskin mistake, Balogun mistake. They're both tentative when they shouldn't have been. Should Balogun go down when it's that high and claim foul and try and, should Rangers be cuter? I think you've got an argument. I don't think it's a foul, but you can certainly make it a foul. And the third one, we know about. So I think defensively, from our point of view, I think that's difficult. I'm not going to call them bottle jobs. I've seen that hit the team with that. I don't think that's fair, especially when they come back twice to 2-2 and then 3-3 that way. I don't think you can accuse them of that. I think in extra time, the really big disappointment was the three that came on. Dessers, Dowell and Barron didn't affect the game in the slightest. Cyril Dessers looked like he was wearing lead boots, and Kieran Dowell, I don't understand. Like, he doesn't look like anything, and that's the critical thing. I don't want to too much go down that. It's just really disappointed by what they did, and I didn't think Connor Barron. You noticed the drop off from Modi Amandi coming off, who, as you said, I think was absolutely excellent. He's much better next to Nico Raskin. I don't think they're perfect, but in terms of what we have at the moment, I think that they two are really good. I think Barron and Raskin are a defensive barrier, a block in certain games, and I think they've done really well, so it's not a criticism. I just think that Diamandi is not a 10. We've seen that, and sitting in next to Raskin's a lot better. But here's the big issue, Kenny, and something we're going to finish with. We can't sugarcoat this. Philip Clement's had 6 attempts at beating them. He's not done it. And then twice in them, he's scored 3 goals and not won the game. That's an undeniable fact. It's not good enough. It's not a good enough record. On the 2nd of January, he has to arrest that. He has to get the 3 points. If he doesn't, and we find ourselves further ahead, you and I both know that regardless if they go to St Mirren and Motherwell and get good performances and good results and beat Dundee this weekend, you and I both know that it's almost unthinkable for Philip Clement to be able to continue with a record of 7-0, knowing that we need to go to Parkhead next. I think that becomes really, really difficult. And if we're honest, it should never really be a situation where we accept that either. So as hard luck as he was yesterday, and you can sit and say that it's all going the right direction and everything else, I'm not necessarily saying it. What I'm saying is that's going to be the reaction to it. And it becomes an almighty next couple of games for Philip Clement. We can't afford not to get this off our back, so to speak, and we need to pick up a result. And it's difficult for him because of all the context we spoke about before. He has to, nobody can go 7 without winning. If it goes even worse in a couple of months at Parkhead, etc. Brutally honest conversation, Kenny. People are going to bring that up.
Of course they are. Listen, I can remember talking on a previous pod, and when Gio was the manager and he kept not getting results against Celtic, and I said at the time, you have to beat them as a Rangers manager. You don't have any choice in this. In terms of the eyes of the support, whether you like it or not, whether Rangers or Philip Clement or anybody else likes it or not, you have to beat Celtic. Now, I'm going to exclude yesterday's game because I think that the improvement was there for all to see. I thought we were better in that game yesterday than I've seen a Rangers team under Clement against Celtic. Even the 3-all draw at Ibrox, I thought we were better yesterday. And the simple fact is that this is whether Rangers decide that he has to win in January the 2nd or not. It's the supporters that kind of determine this. And it's you know as well as I do, mate, it's incredibly difficult for anybody when the supporters' minds are made up. And for all that we were all right yesterday, we played well, there's massive room for improvement again. And the issue that Philip Clement has is exactly as you say. If he can't win at Ibrox in January the 2nd, he's got to go to Celtic Park thereafter, unless we get them in the cup early or whatever. But I don't think Rangers will actually get rid of this Philip Clement at all this season. I think he's there regardless. But that doesn't alter the fact that I am totally agreeing with you that he's got to get the monkey off his back, and he's got to do that on at New Year. I don't think he's got any choice in it. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's kind of my take on it. That you got to beat them. I don't really know what else to say about it. To be honest with me, he just has to.
Well, look, I've been given quite a bit of criticism because of the questions I've asked of Philip Clement, I stand by them. I think they've been fair. I think that, people talk about the Steven Gerrard reign and rebuilds, and I'll say this finally just before we wrap up. And I think that when Steven Gerrard was rebuilding, you had signs of recovery very quickly. In Europe, they qualified really early on against UFA and stuff like that, and you've seen it. And the results in Scotland where they were erratic. I think, we had draws at Aberdeen, Motherwell, we'd defeat early at Celtic and stuff like that. So it wasn't all plain sailing, but we could see where we were going instantly with performances. And I think that we've not seen that enough. Nobody can tell me that up until a few weeks ago, we haven't played well enough. And there's context to it. We've discussed it. I think he left it far too late getting Danilo and Hadji into that team. He should have done it a month earlier than he did. He's not done it. And people tell me they're not ready and stuff like that. I know for a fact they were. And I think that he's been forced, perhaps, into making a situation change because after Dundee United, it was plain that this wasn't working and the fans were at the end of their temper. So he has to win that game. I think that's clear as day. And it's difficult. Of course it is. They're a very good side. But we're at Ibrox. It's an Ibrox pack full of Rangers fans as well. And if we cannot beat them, then everybody will question him regardless, because we'll be minimum 14 behind them at this moment in time. If everything stayed the same, it could be less, it could be more. And I want them to do well, because having to go back to the drawing board, I would like to see this last 5 games continue, because people's patience and anxiety over what we're doing will be lessened. We win on the second, you can almost forget about questions regarding the manager, because people will come with it. They will go with it and they'll say, look, it's taken too long, but we're here now. We are looking good. Let's get a few signings in January. Let's build on that. We'll maybe not get the league. Let's go for the Scottish and let's build. And people will accept it and they'll understand it. There'll be the hardcore that I know will be dissenting voices. That's natural. And again, I'm not trying to happy clap. I'm trying to look objectively on it, Kenny. But if you get to that and do well, then I can understand why the questions will fade as such. But if he doesn't, I'm afraid that the reaction will be one of, you can't beat Celtic. That's 7 games. You can't win big games. You can't win cup finals, regardless of the context of the performance. That's what will be said. And the pressure will just be changes needed. And unfortunately, that's Rangers and that's our support.
It's mate, and it's kind of what you've said is kind of similar to what I was trying to put across myself. You have to beat them, and in the eyes of the support, it's if it's 7 games, then that's well over a year that you'll have been there. You've had 7 goes at it, 2 of them at Hampden. It's a simple scenario, mate, that all Rangers have to live with. That you have to get results against Celtic, because if you don't, you're going to find it very, very difficult to win anything in Scotland, because somewhere along the way, whether it's in the league or the cups, you're going to have to play them, and if you want to be successful, you have to beat them. This isn't rocket science. It's not a maths exam. This is really quite simple. It is what it is. You have to beat them, mate. And I agree with you. I think January the 2nd becomes a massively important game for them, because if you were to go 14 points behind halfway through a season, that's a lot. That's a big gap. It's huge. And despite or regardless to it being a massive restructure and rebuild and all these things, you're still expected to compete. You're still expected to challenge, and you're still expected to beat them, whether anybody up there is trying to make excuses for it or not. It's just the way it is, isn't it? There isn't any other way of kind of putting this. You have to beat them, mate.
Yeah, look, as ever at Rangers, there's a lot to do on and off the park. We wish Patrick Stewart all the best. I'm glad we didn't come out with big statements and things today, but I am glad that we have according to the news this evening, Rahman was reporting that we've sought out reasoning, I think, of what went on yesterday. So that'll be interesting. We'll watch that closely. We'll be back this week. Kenny and I have got a Wednesday show, so join us for that. That'll be out tea time on Wednesday night. We'll be back with the Friday night preview, and hopefully back to a full strength squad. I am hoping to cover the B Team Cup final tomorrow night at Lesser Hampden, so hopefully there'll be a match day vlog for that. And content keeps coming. We appreciate all the likes, all the follows, the majority of the comments. But we appreciate you joining us. We've nattered on for quite a bit. It's probably a longer pod than we like to do, but I hope that we've been fair. And we all want a winning football club, Kenny. I think that's fair. And on to the next one. We've got no other choice. Look forward to our show on Wednesday, mate. Thank you for joining us, as always.
No, that was good. Wee bit weird not having Andrew and Shona, and I hope they're both better for Friday, put it that way. But yeah, the viewers have had to sit there and watch two baldy guys for 40 odd minutes, haven't they? So I think time is up. But thanks for having me on, mate.
Yeah, we can only thank you for putting up with such shine for the last 45 minutes or so. Yeah, best wishes to Andrew and Shona. We hope they are back very speedily. I managed to come on tonight, Kenny. We both got bad coughs and all that, what I mean? But we soldiered on, mate. We soldiered on, but we'll be sure to tell them later in the chat, that's for sure. Folks, thanks for joining us. Please like, subscribe, and check out our content. We much appreciate it. Onwards for Rangers. That's all we really want.
Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, along with Art of Gold. Thank you for listening or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.